Oops. Um, there's something missing. Yeah, here. So, no, no. When you scroll to
The density is the first line. You can read
okay.
from.
The density of the ego depends on the degree to which you, the consciousness, are identified with your mind, with thinking. Thinking is no more than a tiny aspect of the totality of consciousness, the totality of who you are. The degree of identification with the mind differs from person to person. Some people enjoy periods of freedom from it, however brief, and the peace, joy, and aliveness they experience in those moments make life worth living. These are also the moments when creativity, love, and compassion arise. Others are constantly trapped in the egoic state. They are alienated from themselves as well as from others and the world around them. When you look at them, you may see the tension in their face, perhaps the furrowed brow, or or the absent or staring expression in their eyes. Most of their attention is absorbed by thinking, so so they don't really see you, and they are not really listening to you. They are not present in any situation, their attention being either in the past or future, which of course exist only in them as thought forms, or they relate to you through some kind of role they play and so are not themselves. Most people are alienated from who they are, and some are alienated to such a degree they that they behave and interact is recognized as phony by almost everyone except those who are equally phony, equally alienated from who they are. Alienation means you don't feel at ease in any situation, any place, or with any person, not even with yourself. You're always trying to get home, but never feel at home. Some of the greatest writers of the 20th century, such as Franz Kafka, Albert Camus, T.S. Eliot, and James Joyce, recognize alienation as the universal dilemma of human existence, probably felt at it deeply within themselves, and so were able to express it brilliantly in their works. They don't offer a solution. Their contribution is to show us a reflection of the human predicament so that we can see it more clearly. To see one's predicament clearly is a first step toward going beyond it. The birth of emotion. In addition to the movement of thought, although not entirely separate from it, there is another dimension to the ego, emotion. This is not to say that all thinking and all emotion are of the ego. They turn into ego only when you identify with them and they take you over completely, that is to say, when they become I. The physical organism, your body, has its own intelligence, as does the organism of every other life form. And that intelligence reacts to what your mind is saying, reacts to your thoughts. So, emotion is the body's reaction to your mind. The body's intelligence is, of course, an inseparable part of universal intelligence, one of its countless manifestations. It gives temporary cohesion to the atoms and molecules that make up your physical organism. It is the organizing principle behind the workings of all the organs of the body, the conversion of oxygen and food into energy, the heartbeat and circulation of the blood, the immune system that protects the body from the invaders, the translation of sensory input into nerve impulses that are sent to the brain, decoded there and reassembled into a coherent inner picture of outer reality. All these, as well thousands of others, simultaneously occurring functions are coordinated perfectly by that intelligence. You don't run your body. The intelligence does. It also is in charge of the organism's response to its environment. This is true for any life form. It is the same intelligence that brought the plant into physical form and then manifests as the flower that comes out of the plant, the flower that opens its petal in the morning to receive the rays of the sun and closes them at night time. It is the same intelligence that manifests as Gaia, the complex living being that is planet Earth. The this intelligence gives rise to instinctive reaction to of the organism to any threat or challenge. It produces responses in animals that appear to be akin to human emotions: anger, fear, pleasure. These instinctive responses could be considered primordial forms of emotion. In certain situations, human beings experience instinctive responses in the same way that animals do. In the face of danger, when the survival of the organism is threatened, the heart beats faster, the muscles contract, breathing becomes rapid in preparation for the fight or flight. Primordial fear. When being cornered, a sudden flare up of intense energy gives strength to the body that it didn't have before. Primordial anger. These instinctive responses appear akin to emotions, but are not emotions in the true sense of the word. The fundamental difference between an instinctive response and an emotion is this: an instinctive response is the body's direct response to some external situation. An emotion, on the other hand, is the body's response to a thought. Let me repeat this. An instinctive response is the body's direct response to some external situation, whereas an emotion, on the other hand, is the body's response to a thought. Would someone like to take over? Or it's finishing the chapter?
No, the chapter is yet long.
Okay, so if someone wants to take over, please go ahead.
Yes, Manishji has written the name. Manishji
Okay.
wants, or I? Yeah.
Thank you.
You have to start from the new paragraph, right? All.
No, the first line,
Indirectly. Indirectly.
Okay. Indirectly, an emotion can also be a response to an actual situation for event.
Maniji, just a little slow and soft, if you can, so that it's easy for others to understand.
Yeah. Indirectly, an emotion can also be a response to an actual situation or event, but it will be a response to the event seen through the filter of a mental interpretation. The filter of thought, that is to say, through the mental concept of good and bad, like and dislike, me and mine. For example, it is likely you won't feel any emotion when you are told that someone's car has been stolen. But when it is your car, you will probably feel upset. It is amazing how much emotion a little mental concept like my can generate. AI through the body is very intelligent. It cannot tell the difference between an actual intuition an actual situation and a thought. It reacts to every thought as if it were a reality. It does not know it is just a thought. To the body, a worrisome, fearful through means I'm in danger, and it responds accordingly, even though you may be lying in a warm and comfortable bed at night. The heartbeat beats faster, muscles contract, breathing becomes rigid. There's a buildup of can you scroll down? Yeah. There's a buildup of energy. But since the danger is only a mental fiction, the energy has no outlet. Part of it is fed back to the mind and generates even more anxious thought. The rest of the energy turns toxic and interferes with the harmonious functioning of the body. Emotions, the ego is not only the unobserved mind, the voice in the head, which pretends to be you, but also the unobserved emotions that are the body's reaction to what the voice in the head is saying. We have already seen what kind of thinking the egoic voice engages in most of the time, and the dysfunction inherent in the structure of its thought processes, regardless of content. The dysfunctional thinking is what the body reacts to with negative emotions. The voice in the head tells a story that the body believes in and reacts to. Those reactions are the emotions. The emotions in turn feed energy back to the thoughts that created the emotion in the first place. This is the circle between unexamined thoughts and emotions, giving rise to emotional thinking and emotional story making. Okay. The emotional component of ego differs from person to person. In some egos, it is greater than in others. Thoughts that trigger emotional responses in the body may sometimes come so fast that before the mind had in has, before the mind has had time to voice them, the body has already responded with an emotion, and the emotion has turned into a reaction. Those thoughts exist at a pre-verbal stage and could be called unspoken, unconscious assumptions. They have been they have their origin in a person's past conditioning, usually from early childhood. People cannot be trusted would be an example of such an unconscious assumption in a person whose primordial relationships, that is to say, with parents, raw siblings, were not supportive and did not inspire trust. Here are a few more common unconscious assumptions. Nobody respects and appreciates me. I need to fight to survive. There is never enough money. Life always lets you down. I don't deserve abundance. I don't deserve love. Unconscious assumptions create emotion in the body, which in turn generate mind activity and or instant reactions. In this way, you create your personal reality. Okay. The voice of the ego continuously disrupts the body's natural state of well-being. Almost every human body is under a great deal of strain and stress, not because it is threatened by some external factor, but from within the mind. The body has an ego attached to it, and it cannot but respond to all the dysfunctional thought patterns that make up the ego. Thus, a stream of negative emotion accompanies the stream of incessant and compulsive thinking. What is a negative emotion? An emotion that is toxic to the body and interferes with its balance and harmonious functioning. Fear, anxiety, anger, bearing a grudge, sadness, hatred, or intense dislike, jealousy, envy, all disrupt the energy flow through the body, affect the heart, the immune system, digestion, production of hormones, and so on, and so on. Even mainstream medicine, although it knows very little about how the ego operates, yet is beginning to recognize the connection between negative emotional states and physical disease. An emotion that does harm to the body also infects the people you come into contact with and indirectly, though a process of chain reaction, countless others you never meet. There is a generic term for all negative emotions, unhappiness. Do positive emotions then have the opposite effect on the physical body? Do they strengthen the immune system, invigorate and heal the body? They do indeed, but we need to differentiate between positive emotions that are ego generated and deeper emotions that emanate from your natural state of connectedness with being. Somebody want to read?
Yeah, Suman has written an email.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. From here, positive emotions.
Yes, yes.
Positive emotions generated by the ego already contain within themselves their opposite into which they can quickly turn. Here are some examples. What the ego calls love is possessiveness and addictive clinging that can turn into hate within a second. Anticipation about an upcoming event, which is the ego's overvaluation of future, easily turns into opposite letdown or disappointment when the event is over or doesn't fulfill the ego's expectations. Praise and recognition make you feel alive and happy one day. Being criticized or ignored make you dejected and unhappy the next. The pleasure of a wild party turns into bleakness and a hangover the next morning. There is a good without bad, no high without low. Ego generated emotions are derived from the mind's identification with external factors, which are, of course, all unstable and liable to change at any moment. The deeper emotions are not only really emotions at all, but states of being. Emotions exist within the realm of opposites. States of being can be obscured, but they have no opposite. They emanate from within you as the love, joy, peace that are aspects of your true nature. The duck with the human mind. In the power of now, I mentioned my observation that after two ducks get into a fight, which never lasts long, they will separate and float off in opposite directions. Then each duck will flap its wings vigorously a few times, thus releasing the surplus energy that built up during the fight. After they flap their wings, they float on peacefully as if nothing had ever happened. If the duck had a human mind, it would keep the fight alive by thinking, by story making. This would probably be the duck's story. I don't believe what he just did. He came to within 5 inches of me. He thinks he owns this pond. He has no consideration for my private space. I will never trust him again. Next time he will try something else just to annoy me. I am sure he is plotting something already, but I am not going to stand for this. I will teach him a lesson he won't forget. And on, the mind spins its tales, still thinking and talking about its days, months, or years later. As far as the body is concerned, the fight is still continuing, and the energy it generates in response to all those thoughts is emotion, which in turn generates more thinking. This becomes the emotional thinking of the ego. You can see how problematic the duck's life would become if it had a human mind. But this is how most humans live all the time. No situation or event is ever really finished. The mind and the mind made me and my story keep it going. We are a species that has lost its way. Everything natural, everything flower or tree, and every animal have important lessons to teach us if we would only stop, look, and listen. Our duck's lesson is this: flap your wings, which translates as let go of the story and return to the only place of power, the present moment. Carrying the past, the inability or rather unwillingness of the human mind to let go of the past is beautifully illustrated in the story of two Zen monks, Tanzen and Ikido, who were walking along a country road that had become extremely muddy after heavy rains. Near a village, they came upon a young woman who was trying to cross the road, but the mud was so deep it would have ruined the silk kimono she was wearing. Tanzin at once picked her up and carried her to the other side. The monks walked on in silence. 5 hours later, as they were approaching the lodging temple, Ikido could not restrain himself any longer. Why did you carry that girl across the road? He asked. We monks are not supposed to do the things like that. I put the girl down hours ago, said Tanzin. Are you still carrying her? Now imagine what life would be like for someone who lived like Ikido all the time, unable or unwilling to let go internally of situations, accumulating more and more stuff inside. And you get a sense of what life is like for the majority of people on our planet. What a heavy burden of past they carry around with them in their minds. The past lives in you as memories, but memories in themselves are not a problem. In fact, it is through memory that we learn from the past and from past mistakes. It is only when memories, that is to say, thoughts about the past, take you over completely that they turn into a burden, turn problematic, and become part of your sense of self. Your personality, which is conditioned by the past, then becomes your prison. Your memories are invested with a sense of self, and your story becomes who you perceive yourself to be. This little me is an illusion that obscures your true identity as timeless and formless presence. Your story, however, consists not only of mental but also of emotional memory, old emotion that is being revived continuously, as in the case of the monk who carried the burden of his resentment for 5 hours by feeding it with his thoughts. Most people carry a large amount of unnecessary baggage, both mental and emotional, throughout their lives. They limit themselves through grievances, regret, hostility, guilt. Their emotional thinking has become their self, and so they hang on to the old emotion because it strengthens their identity. Next page, please. Because of the human tendency to perpetuate old emotion, almost everyone carries in his or her energy field an accumulation of old emotional pain, which I call the pain body. We can, however, stop adding to the pain body that we already have. We can learn to break the habit of accumulating and perpetuating old emotion by flapping our wings, metaphorically speaking, and refrain from mentally dwelling on the past, regardless of whether something happened yesterday or 30 years ago. We can learn not to keep situations or events alive in our minds, but to return our attention continuously to the pristine, timeless present moment rather than be caught up in mental movie making. Our very presence then becomes our identity rather than our thoughts and emotions. Nothing ever happened in the past that can prevent you from being present now. And if the past cannot prevent you from being present now, what power does it have? Individual and collective. Any negative emotion that is not fully faced and seen for what it is in the moment it arises doesn't completely dissolve. It leaves behind a remnant of pain. Children in particular find strong negative emotions too overwhelming to cope with and tend to try not to feel them. In the absence of a fully conscious adult who guides them with love and compassionate understanding into facing the emotion directly, choosing not to feel it is indeed the only option for the child at that time. Unfortunately, that early defense mechanism usually remains in place when the child becomes an adult. The emotion still lives in him or her unrecognized and manifests indirectly. For example, as anxiety, anger, outbursts of violence, a mood, or even as a physical illness. In some cases, it interferes with or sabotages every intimate relationship. Most psychotherapists have met patients who claimed initially to have had a totally happy childhood, and later the opposite turned out to be the case. Those may be the more extreme cases, but nobody can go through childhood without suffering emotional pain. Even if both of your parents were enlightened, you would still find yourself growing up in a largely unconscious world. The remnants of pain left behind by every strong negative emotion that is not fully faced, accepted, and then let go of joined together to form an energy field that lives in the very cells of your body. It consists not just of childhood pain, but also painful emotions that were added to it later in adolescence and during your adult life, much of it created by the voice of the ego. It is the emotional pain that is your unavoidable companion when a false sense of self is the basis of your life. This energy field of old but still very much alive emotion that lives in almost every human being is the pain body. The pain body, however, is not just individual in nature. It also partakes of the pain suffered by countless humans throughout the history of humanity, which is a history of continuous tribal warfare, of enslavement, pillage, rape, torture, and other forms of violence. This pain still lives in the collective psyche of humanity and is being added to on a daily basis. As you can as you can verify when you watch the news tonight or look at the drama in people's relationships. The collective pain body is probably encoded within every human's DNA, although we have not discovered it there yet. Every newborn who comes into this world already carries an emotional pain body. In some, it is heavier, more dense than in others. Some babies are quite happy most of the time. Others seems to carry an enormous amount of unhappiness within them. It is true that some babies cry a great deal because they are not given enough love and attention, but others cry for no apparent reason, almost as if they were trying to make everyone around them as unhappy as they are, and often they succeed. They have come into this world with a heavy share of human pain. Other babies may cry frequently because they can sense the emanation of their mother's and father's negative emotion, and it causes them pain and also causes their pain body to grow already by absorbing energy from the parents' pain bodies. Whatever the case may be, as the baby's physical body grows, so does the pain body. An infant with only a light pain body is not necessarily going to be a spiritually more advanced man or woman than somebody with a dense one. In fact, the opposite is often the case. People with heavy pain bodies usually have a better chance to awaken spiritually than those with a relatively light one, whereas some of them do remain trapped in their heavy pain bodies. Many others reach a point where they cannot live with their unhappiness any longer, and so their motivation to awaken becomes strong. Why is the suffering body of Christ, his face distorted in agony and his body bleeding from countless wounds, such a significant image in the collective consciousness of humanity? Millions of people, particularly in medieval times, would not have related to it as deeply as they did if something within themselves had not resonated with it, if they had not unconsciously recognized it as an outer representation of their own inner reality, the pain body. They were not yet conscious enough to recognize it directly within themselves, but it was the beginning of their becoming aware of it. Christ can be seen as the archetypal human, embodying both the pain and the possibility of transcendence. Yes, anybody wants to read?
Yeah, there are no
I can
names.
read.
Yeah, go on, go on.
Uh, how the pain body renews itself. The pain body is a semi autonomous energy form that lives within most human beings, an entity made up of emotion. It has its own primitive intelligence, not unlike a cunning animal, and its intelligence is directed primarily at survival. Like all life forms, it periodically needs to feed to take in new energy, and the food it requires to replenish consists of energy that is compatible with its own, which is to say, energy that vibrates at a similar frequency. Any emotionally painful experience can be used as food by the pain body. That's why it thrives on negative thinking as well as drama in relationships. The pain body is an addiction to unhappiness. It may be shocking when you realize for the first time that there is something within you that periodically seeks emotional negativity, seeks unhappiness. You need even more awareness to see it in yourself than to recognize it in another person. Once the unhappiness has taken you over, not only do you not want an end to it, but you also want to make others just as miserable as you are in order to feed on their emotional negative reactions. In most people, the pain body has a dormant and an active stage. When it is dormant, you easily forget that you carry a heavy dark cloud or a dormant volcano inside you, depending on the energy field of your particular pain body. How long it remains dormant varies from person to person. A few weeks is the most common, but it can be a few days or months. In rare cases, the pain body can lie in hibernation for years before it gets triggered by some event. How the pain body feeds in your thoughts. The pain body awakens from its dormancy when it gets hungry, when it is time to replenish itself. Alternatively, it may get triggered by an event at any time. The pain body that is ready to feed can use the most insignificant event as a trigger, something somebody says or does, or even a thought. If you live alone and there is nobody around you at the time, the pain body will feed on your thoughts. Suddenly, your thinking becomes deeply negative. You were most likely unaware that just prior to the influx of negative thinking, a wave of emotion invaded your mind as a dark and heavy mood, as anxiety or fiery anger. All thought is energy, and the pain body is now feeding on the energy of your thoughts. But it cannot feed on any thought. You don't need to be particularly sensitive to notice that a positive thought has a totally different feeling tone than a negative one. It is the same energy, but it vibrates at a different frequency. A happy, positive thought is indigestible to the pain body. It can only feed on negative thoughts because only those thoughts are compatible with its own negative energy field. All things are vibrating energy fields in ceaseless motion. The chair you sit on, the book you are holding in your hands appear solid and motionless only because that is how your senses perceive their vibrational frequency. That is to say, the incessant movement of the molecules, atoms, electrons, and subatomic particles that together create what you perceive as a chair, a book, a tree, or a body. What we perceive as physical matter is energy vibrating, moving at a particular range or frequencies. Thoughts consist of the same energy vibrating at higher frequency than matter, which is why they cannot be seen or touched. Thoughts have their own range of frequencies, which negative thoughts at the lower end of the scale and positive thoughts at the higher. The vibrational frequency of the pain body resonates with that of negative thoughts, which is why those thoughts can feed the pain body. The usual pattern of thought creating emotion is reversed in the case of the pain body, at least initially. Emotion from the pain body quickly gains control of your thinking, and once the mind has been taken over by the pain body, your thinking becomes negative. The voice in your head will be telling sad, anxious, or angry stories about yourself or your life, about other people, about past, future, or imaginary events. The voice will be blaming, accusing, complaining, imagining. And you are totally identified with whatever the voice says before all its believe all its distorted thoughts. At that point, the addiction to unhappiness has set in. It is not much that you cannot stop your train of negative thoughts, but that you don't want to. This is because the pain body at that time is living through you, pretending to be you. And to the pain body, pain is pleasure. It eagerly devours every negative thought. In fact, the usual voice in your head has now become the voice of the pain body. It has taken over the internal dialogue. A vicious circle becomes established between the pain body and your thinking. Every thought feeds the pain body, and in turn, the pain body generates more thoughts. At some point, after a few hours or even a few days, it has replenished itself and returns to its dormant stage, leaving behind a depleted organism and a body that is more susceptible to illness. If this sounds to you like a psychic parasite, you are right. That's exactly what it is. Shall I continue? So,
Yeah, if
how
no
the
one,
pain,
yeah, anyone wants to, yeah, I did not hear. Who was that? Okay, I think we are out of time also. Just a minute. I'll just check how much is left. How the pain body fits on Ramana. Yeah, it's a lot to read.
yeah,
So let's continue tomorrow and just open up for a quick discussion today. Uh, and we'll from here we'll just read from tomorrow. So yeah, thank you everyone for reading. Yeah. Anyone wants to share anything, any aha moments, any insights? Have you ever heard of this before, or this was your first encounter with this information? Just let us know. Feel free to share whatever comes to your mind.
yeah, I have heard about this in what they call as somatic meditation, right? Somatic meditation is like the body does not lie. You may think a lot of things, the mind may think something entirely different, but the body reflects what is the reality. So if the body is reflecting the internal thoughts and frustrations and the anxieties, but one is speaking something different, it's there is a clear difference. So the body does not lie. That's what I've heard in even in coaching sessions, that how does your body be aware of your body and see what your body is telling you. If your body is feeling that there is a pain, then there is likely some emotional reason why that pain has been there. And then try to understand where it is coming from. Is there something which has caused it from the past, something which has been a cause of this pain? And if there is any emotion that I'm feeling uh, that has surfaced, which is feeling familiar. Can I trace this to a past experience? And what part of me needs that acknowledgement so that I can acknowledge that I had that emotion, I had that experience. And then that is why the pain body is feeling that way. So that's basically what I thought is what I got out of it.
Wow, that was a beautiful share. In fact, I had heard of somatic exercises, but I'm not aware of somatic meditation. But yeah, that was very interesting. I am aware of like our body holds emotions through chakras, and even chakras, and there are like different body parts tend to have this tendency of holding different kinds of emotions, and that's how like certain body parts, when they are affected, uh, certain kind of emotions are more prominent, or we go through that physical psychological disease sometimes, which causes the physical disease, which is also the base of Louis Hay's teaching and her book You Can Heal Your Body. So that's like a Bible book, I would say, for anyone who wants to understand how emotions affect our health and diseases creep in. And it's a very beautiful book. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Vidya. Yeah,
Yeah.
anyone else? Yeah. So, are you aware of any of these? Like, if you can just share it in the group, whatever, like any meditation or anything related, like just in case, like any YouTube link or anything, so that can help others understand it better, or anyone if they want to go through it.
Yeah, if I find something, I'll share for sure.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want
Anything
to
that?
add. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. See, life is never a one-way street. It's just like when we are ascending in life, it is always like two step up, one step down. And we should, the sooner we acknowledge the fact that life will take you through experiences. The good experience will test you, and the bad experience will teach you. So it's all about you know, uh, uh, you have to just face the fear to overcome the fear. Actually, so the point is, if we can work on ourselves, our mind, how we think, our belief system, the sooner we accept the reality of life, both good and bad, the more we are prepared for it, right? So when the author mentions the spiritual context, that okay, when we go through pain of life, we are building our spiritual aspect of life, you know, uh, because when we go through some level of pain, like through some bad experience, so if we can use that experience to build up on our spiritual health, then we are in a far better mental capacity to take up the bigger challenges of life. And when they come, we don't we don't get break, right? We are ready for it. We just like, every experience should be taken in a positive aspect, that either it is testing me or it is building me, right? But it is taking me one step up in life. So it's all about, your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual health of aspect of life. So, the same thing Robin Sharma says right in that book, that we should grow in those all four spheres of life, because we'll always be surrounded by something that we don't desire. But that's what how the life is, right? But this is also building us in some area for our upliftment. So, and the most stronger part is your belief and our belief system, right? That we should always believe that yes, I'm above my obstacles, I'm above my circumstances. So all these beliefs, assumptions, affirmations, meditations, they all add up to uh, living a meaningful life. And like uh, the important thing is, we should be ready. We should never stay away from the challenges of life, fear, so many things, and like not depend on people. We should work on our mental strength, spiritual strength, physical strength, right? So we should always be upgrading ourselves in all these areas, so that we can take up any challenge of life that might come. Yeah, yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Maniji, Deepa has written that your reading pace was very nice today. So yeah, even I want to second that. In fact, like the way you read today, slowly and softly, really made helped us understand it really good compared to the other times. And yeah, so yeah, Maniji, I just want to add that uh, it's not always about staying positive and motivated all the time, but like today at least what the author is talking about, it's more about healing and more about understanding that how emotions are stored in our body. And personally, like, just adding my share to it. So for me the highlight today was that he said, like, that part, like, that really striked out, that when he shared that even if you have had a very good childhood, like many people feel that they have had wonderful childhood, they have had very caring, nice, good parents, and all of that, enlightened parents is mentioned. But still, there we do have go through emotions. We do have, because of the society or somewhere else, we all have this pain bodies. He said. So that was a striking part for me today. And I love the duck example. I've heard it before in his maybe audio or some other videos. So I like that, and I think so. I have experienced touchwood. I have experienced in some of the retreat I attended. I just got to experience this, that there are meditation, there are active meditations and things like that, where we actually are normally, at least for me, when I was first encountered with those meditation, I was unaware of something like this exist. Because for me, meditation was always like sitting in a in a lotus position and just being in silence and things like that. That is how I assumed it to be up until then. But then there was this active meditation where you actually never you do a lot of body movements and maybe some voicing out and all of those, and this is how you just release all the emotions that are indirectly stored in your body. So these were very, very powerful insights. And for me today, what struck out, one more thing that just came to my mind is that in our this thing, right? In our culture also, it's said that Ayurveda and all of those things talks about different koshas, Annamay Kosh, Manomay Kosh, and things like that. So I just had a feeling that what the author is talking about is maybe mainly the Manomay Kosh that they talk about. Like, there are these pancha koshas that we are surrounded with. There is a spiritual body, there is a mental body, there is how Maniji also highlighted, right? There are different planes. But in our circle, if we can see, like, if we can just, even if you Google, there are these 5 layers that are shown uh, outside of the physical body. So the physical body is the Annamay Kosh, and outside that there is a there are 4 different koshas, and I think the last one is like the spiritual kosh. But the second, I think, is the pain body, I think, what he's talking about. So that's how I just related. Maybe that's the same thing that what the author is also talking about, and that what is there in our literature also, maybe. So that just resonated with me. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Deepa, raise your hand. Deepa, please.
Yeah,
Yeah. Go on, go
yeah.
on.
What I wanted to say was, uh, some of the pain which we carry, it is not only we carry it, we pass it on to the next generation. We influence the surrounding. Like, here, the two ducks fight, and they let go and they move in different directions, and they are ready to move on. Uh, Even the 2 monks, the one who carries the lady across the river, he lets her go and he's forgotten about it. But the other monk, he still carries that feeling, that resentment, or the feeling that something wrong has been done, which is not the thing which was done was not in accordance with the monk's vow. So here, the guy who actually carried the lady, he's ready to let go. He's ready to forget it. But sometimes, that when we don't let go, we influence other people in our surrounding to think likewise, to carry that resentment or that anger. And sometimes this sort of trauma I've seen, people carrying it for generation, they pass it on to their children and they allow that thing to thrive. So that is something, really hit me hard, how well the writer has analyzed this thing. It becomes a cultural thing. So we have to let go certain negative experiences, the pain, like those ducks, or the monk who carried the lady and he has helped her and he's moving away from that. So that is something we have to imbibe in us, not only just to forgive or forget. It is just to let go, no longer ponder on it or think about that issue. So that is a big enlightening thing. That is a message we have to spread around. People carry the resentment not only their lifetime, they pass it on to the next lifetime and to the surroundings. So that is something we have to work on. And with the social media, this is happening a lot. People spreading that negativity. And changing the mindset where we don't see any problem due to other people's experiences, we started experiencing that trauma and the pain. So that should be avoided, and we should avoid seeing such things, reading such things, and thinking about it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, wow, that was a wonderful perspective. And yes, thank you for adding that. It's very, very true. I think there is some term called hot potato or something like that, where you pass on your fears, your insecurities, and everything to your kids because we are operating through them, right? And yes, very, very well said. And yes, social media, I do agree, has a lot of impact because yeah, we maybe our pain bodies are also getting created by the news and all of those other things, negative things that are exposed to us now, because we are exposed to a lot of things globally, which was not the case few decades back, right? So people were only exposed to things in their surroundings. That's how they were more calmer, they were more at peace comparatively, is what I feel. So yeah, very, very well said. Yeah, thank you for adding that perspective. Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
Shilpa. Yeah, okay, yeah, Pranavi or
yeah, Pranavi
uh,
here.
yeah, hi Pranavi. Yeah.
Hi, hi. Um, Actually, coming to the pain and how the body is related, obviously, few organs are totally related to what kind of stress you undergo. Like, if you undergo a lot of stress, your muscle area, that is abdominal area, will get affected a lot. So that bile juice secretion and all will lower down. So anyhow, keeping these things apart, the process of how is like the other day I was just working on the hip area in the yoga part. So hip opening exercises, it really helps in relieving the stress and anxiety which is being deposited in our body. So I was seriously doubtful about it because hip opening and all, yeah, it works on your thigh area and the other areas, but then how it is mentally affected, karke, I was just thinking. Then there was a description in the yoga book telling that hip opening and all is related to that root chakra. If like the Mooladhara chakra and all, if it gets blocked out, so a lot of stress will be deposited in that area. So in order to heal that area, and there would be dormant, the root chakra, the coils around the root chakra would also be dormant. So the moment you work on your hip area, the hip opening exercises, the stress will automatically get released. So yeah, when you were reading all this, then I thought, acha, this is the thing which is being uh, that the author is trying to explain. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah, very well. So yeah, even I remember in one of the Reiki this thing, when I was into this learning my Reiki too, and it was a very intense. It is a 2 day, very, very intense meditations and all of that uh, are taken. Like whoever must have been into something like this, they might know. So in that I remember a lot of things, like, and when we go through this very deep meditation, things come up, right? Like things just surface up out of nowhere, and you don't even know when you had even thought of this. And I think maybe healing happens through that. Like our teachers always tell that when you cry, it's a good thing. So because you're releasing some of the things you're holding on to for you don't know like how long. So whenever whenever you're in a meditation or something and some tears roll out, something happens, it's actually considered as a good sign because things are released out of your body through these things. So and yes, the chakra part also, like I remember something just popped, like I don't know, I just kept crying for a very long time, and some things popped out of nowhere, and maybe they just got released then, and maybe it was the effect of the guru and obviously the meditations and whatever that we went through. So yeah, I just remembered that. And yes, Pranavi, thank you for sharing that. In fact, today even it was like an eye opener for me. I was aware of this thing, like different chakras hold different emotions and all, but I always have a lot of procrastination for exercising. So today I just resolved that I would be more consistent with it now. So this thing, and I do need to work on my body a lot. So I do. So this also came to me as this thing highlight, and your share is in fact even better highlight, I would say. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
thank you.
Shilpa wanted to say something, eh, or someone has raised the hand, Anjali or Shilpa. So whoever wants to speak, please unmute and speak. We can go for another 2-3 minutes, and then if there is no one else to speak, we'll stop. We're out of time.
I wasn't sure now because it's time up, I guess. That's why I put my hand down.
No, it's okay, it's okay. Whatever you have to say, please do share. Like we don't go like without addressing everyone's share. Like so, please do share.
Okay. I don't know if it's I'm in my thoughts with my mom most of the time now. So I just remember when we would have disagreements, sometimes even arguments, we would move out of the room. And then, so we would physically move out, you know, and stay in different space, maybe in the same apartment. She's in the kitchen, I'm in the room. Or my favorite place to go is to use the bathroom to when there's a disagreement with another person. So that gives me time to breathe, to get into my body, and then I come anew me to be in front of the other person, not to face the other person, but to be in front of the other person. And my mom, since childhood, she would just come back after 5 or 10 minutes, and she would just say something like, so what do we eat today? Would you like this veggie, or can you do some shopping for me? And there was nothing about what had already happened. And people from outside would wonder that we could have had a blow up, but we don't have it because she comes back and she proceeds as if nothing has happened. And I was used to this, and in all my other relationships, I always managed to always come down, and people wondered how could I not hold on to this. And now when we were reading this again, I remembered her. This is how she really managed to do. And another thing that I wanted to share with you is about the pain body. Um, I find again, I come back to mindfulness. It's always a stepping stone towards meditation. And so mindfulness brings awareness. And I don't know if somebody else knows about the trigger points in our body. There are literally trigger points in our body, which release a lot of emotions. And
Is it the EFT
no,
something you're talking?
no.
Okay.
I have done this, and honestly, even now, I have some trigger points, and I know. And if you press one trigger point, all the other points get triggered. And you feel that you have, for example, I have pain on the front of my uh, my sorry, I'm getting the German word. So I have some pain in my arm. Okay, let's take my arm. And then that could be a secondary pain, and the primary pain is somewhere on my shoulder blade, far away from my arm. So you always need to find the primary pain, primary trigger point. So you have to learn how to use those trigger points. And then if you trigger the secondary trigger point, then you find the primary trigger point, because once you realize that you're not responding to the second, then you go in search of the first one. And when you're in search of the first one, and once you reach there, you release the pain, but then there could be another trigger point which is connected to the first. That's how you know that your body is totally connected. You have pain in your foot, and you will find out that your hip hurts. So all this has something to do with bringing awareness. When you get into your body, there is awareness. There is separation from the mind. And you have, as we all have learned, you have to feel without feeding. Feel without feeding means you let emotions rise and pass without acting. This is what when you do nothing, you just sit and you watch, and you don't mentally fuel them. And in Buddhism, this aligns with the concept of samskara, which is the habitual mental impressions and emotional imprints that cause suffering unless or until it is released, not only through awareness, but also through compassion. And the last thing, as I think Deepa mentioned, that you carry it forward, or you take the trauma from your ancestors and you've brought it here until now because you carry it in your cells. And as women, we carry more of the trauma compared to men. So it is a responsibility to end the trauma here. So becoming aware of not your personal trauma, the trauma which you have got through your ancestors. So creating awareness is a responsibility for the future generation. So sometimes you don't understand why you feel certain things because things have not happened in your personal life, and you may be carrying the trauma from your ancestors. Thank you. That's all that I wanted to share.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for adding that. That was a beautiful insight. So, yeah. Anyone else who wants to add something quickly, or then we can even close for today? Okay, I think we are all done speaking then. So, thank you, everyone. We'll continue with this chapter tomorrow, and maybe
Thank
probably
you
we'll
all.
finish.
Bye bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you for this beautiful insights and share. Thank you. See you all tomorrow. Bye bye.
Yeah, I just sent a link. You can look at it.
Yeah,
It's in the chat.
yeah,
Thank you.
I saw, and I just send it in the group as well.
Okay,
Like,
great. Thank you.
access it. Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.